Hello, boys and girls. This video is going to take you through your fourth grade experience that we talked about the other day. Um, this we're coming toward the end of the year. This will be a writing project that will incorporate language arts as well. So this brainstorm document is going to help you write an essay about your experience in fourth grade. This is not your essay though, so understand this is a way for you to brainstorm. This year has had a special effect on all of us, and I want you to brainstorm ideas for what you might share. Anything that you write here doesn't mean you might talk about all these things, but it's good to get your ideas out first and then decide what you might write about. Write as much as you can think of. There's no limits, even though I may say think of 3 things, you can always include more. The rules will expand as you write more. So I thought I would post questions or statements to help you plan. The first one is think of 3 things or events that have impacted you this year in a positive or negative way. So you could talk about COVID. You could talk about what's going on with the Floyd situation, what's going on with the unrest in the cities right now with racism, and you could talk about justice. You could talk about things that are not current events. You could talk about the fact that you made new friends, or you learned how to play a new instrument, or you could talk about events outside of school that have affected you. But it should be related to fourth grade in some way. And like I said, it could be positive and negative things. So you can list them here. Okay. And I made boxes for 1, 2, and 3. If you want to add more, you can always hit the tab key and it'll make an additional box. Tab key is usually on that right here. This little key right here. We'll do that for you. Number 2, how have the events above affected you? So when you list the events, I want you to think about how it has affected you. In what ways has your fourth grade experience been affected by the events you listed below? This should be above. Share some examples. So I put 6 here, but you may not have as many, or you may have more, but think about how these things have affected you. So you could say something like, I wasn't able to see my friends as much. I had to do distance learning, which was difficult. You could say I spent more time at home with family, and that was a good thing because maybe your parents work a lot and you don't get to see them as much, but now everyone's home. You could say you were frustrated because you couldn't go outside as much as you wanted to. You couldn't go to the movies, or your life was interrupted, but be specific. You could also talk about, like I said, if you learned something new, you could talk about how, let's say you learned an instrument for the first time. You were able to, play more or play some of your favorite songs because you learned how to play an instrument. Or maybe you realize that something that you started, you weren't able to finish because of what happened. If you play sports, you could talk about how your season was interrupted, or you could talk about how before things happened, how it was impacting you. You don't have to focus on COVID, but I know a lot of you might, but it's not the only thing you can talk about. So don't feel like you have to just talk about COVID. That's not true. Number 3, what skills or ideas did you learn this year that you remember most? So now think about 5 things that you learned to do. Maybe you became a better reader. Maybe you became a better math student. Maybe you learned how to divide and for the first time. Maybe you learned more about history. Maybe you learned how to type better. Maybe you improved your skills with making friends or learning an instrument. So think of 5 skills or lessons, ideas that you learned. Not lessons, sorry. And the last question is about lessons. What lessons did you learn this year that will stay with you? Think of 2 or 3 if you can. So these lessons, you can tie them to books that you've read or things that we've talked about. But when you think about this year, what was something that will stay with you? Ideas or lessons? For me, it was, being thankful for what you have. because a lot of people lost so much through all this. The other lesson I learned is that equality is important. It's an important issue that people need to discuss and debate about. We have a lot of unrest, and we have people in this country who are angry and upset about what's happening, and justice and equality are at the center of it. So you could talk about those lessons, but like I said, you can have other lessons too. Whatever you pick, it should be something personal to you. So I'm going to really challenge you to think of this year and how it affected you and reflect. So this is just the first part. There'll be another part next week. And I'm also offering extra help with this as well. All right, boys and girls, until next time. See you later. Bye-bye now.